Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to Laird Wellness Live.
Hello.
And we have some very interesting information for you tonight about vitamin C. Some
Yes.
exciting new stuff. Some even, get this, that even some officials are now recommending it as part of a healthy American diet and lifestyle. So that is pretty cool. It's like, well, not vitamin C per se, but vitamins in general, they're actually recommending now.
Who's they?
They being, well, we'll get into that. They are the scientific report of the 2020 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. And that bases what the USDA and Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, determined for what to recommend people to eat. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so anyway, welcome tonight. We are very happy you're with us. Earlier in the week, I guess, what was it, Sunday? We had an earthquake here.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That was weird.
I felt like I was living out on the West Coast again. That was really strange. But anyway, so we're okay. House is okay. I checked under the house. All the pilings are good. So I think we're all right. But anyway, hope you didn't have any craziness near your way. And we had another crazy storm here tonight. So we have lots of exciting stuff to show you on screen like we did last time. So you can follow along with us. I think a lot of people enjoyed that. So we're going to start with the first thing. And that is a study that came my way from one of my favorite news sources, and that's Orthomolecular News.
Right.
I love that place because it just tells you what's healthy and doesn't worry about what standard protocol says, that kind of thing. They just go, here's the research, here's what was said, here's what they're doing in other countries. There's something we don't hear a lot of.
Right.
And that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. And in fact, this is the first slide here that I want to show you is all about what people are doing in other countries when it comes to vitamin C.
Okay.
Here's something interesting. Check this out. Severe respiratory virus infection is a life-threatening disease, especially when specific medications and vaccines are absent. Now, as I read this, I'm going to tell you that we have three studies that I'm going to put up for you in the chat. Not in the chat, in the comments in Facebook. Afterwards, yep. I've got them already lined up. I'll put them in there for you afterwards. And also, we're going to put this on YouTube.
Awesome.
Yep. And so if you want to see this later, all you have to do is go to Arude. I'm thinking of where I work. No, this is our other gig. Where you want to go for this is lairdwellness.com/YouTube. Very simple.
And please share it.
Yes. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that fancy stuff. Okay. So now let's continue here. Let's go right to the nitty gritty here. Many hospitals in China and worldwide have used high-dose intravenous infusion of vitamin C, IVC. So now there's three kinds of vitamin C. There's the intravenous that they're talking about here, regular vitamin C that you get in like a little tablet, and then there's liposomal vitamin C.
Right.
And that is that's the one we carry in our store, liposomal vitamin C.
Right.
So anyway, so there's three different levels of things here. We're going to show you how each one of them works, and this is really kind of cool. So as far as intravenous vitamin C, it's used to treat critically ill patients in China, and they have achieved some positive outcomes. And there's a study associated with that you can check out later if you like. However, there are still controversies in the field about the dose regimen and the treatment efficacy of vitamin C. And we're going to see some of the reasons for that. And it's very interesting to me to read this because I got the correlation when I read it and I thought, aha, this is interesting because it just supports what we've always known about good health. And you'll know what I mean when you get to it, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here is something else we want to bring up from the same Orthomolecular News. This is the first one we're going through here. There's going to be three we're going through. Number two, this is an interesting thing about how much vitamin C people take. Usually you think, okay, well, people take 1,000 milligrams or something like that, or if you're really into it, like we have I was going to say intravenous vitamin C. We don't go quite that far. We have the liposomal vitamin C, and I did 4,000 or 5,000 today.
Why today?
Well, because I had what was it that I did? Oh, I cleared my throat and felt like I kind of scratched my throat. And then, sometimes when you do that, your immune system responds because there's inflammation there. I thought, oh man, I wasn't sure if I was getting a cold or something or not, or if it was just because I cleared my throat really hard. So I took a bunch of vitamin C and I'm already feeling the effects. So that's good. It's feeling better. Right. So here is what the normal.
But if you get a daily vitamin from the regular store, more often than not, what is in that vitamin multi is mostly what I'm talking about, is about 400 IU.
Yeah, and you want to be taking at least 1,000. That's what I do. I mean, I'm not prescribing here, but that's what I do. I'll just tell you what I do.
Yeah.
So continuous large doses of oral vitamin C, for example, every 3 to 4 hours, total dose 18 grams. That's
So
18,000
18,000.
milligrams. That's a
Wow.
lot. Gives a maximum peak concentration of about 220 micromoles per liter. But high-dose intravenous infusion of vitamin C bypasses the limitation of intestinal absorption. We're going to tell you more about that in a second, what that means. And the peak blood concentration can reach about 15,000 micromoles per liter. So it can reach a lot more. Now, why is that? Well, when you take vitamin C by mouth, whether it's just the regular vitamin C or liposomal vitamin C, again, vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin. So whatever your body doesn't use, it excretes. And it doesn't use a lot because your cells have a fat membrane around them. And there's a specific protein channel. It's almost like I think I used the analogy of the castle door in the castle wall of your cell. And that castle door is the only way that regular vitamin C can get in. So a lot of it, imagine a river going by a castle, and you're in a small rowboat, which is vitamin C, trying to aim for that one little doorway into the castle.
Okay.
And if you're in a fast-moving river like your bloodstream, you're going to miss it. And so that's what happens a lot. Is a lot of the vitamin C you take just gets excreted out in your urine. Now, liposomal vitamin C is like the castle. It almost has a wall of its own. It has a fat membrane. They treat it with liposomes. They treat vitamin C with liposomes. So every one of the vitamin C molecules now has a fat membrane around it, and it behaves more like your cell, like the castle wall.
Okay.
So it just adheres to the cell a lot easier, and not as much gets flushed down the toilet, long story short, and a lot more of it gets absorbed into your body.
Got it.
So you can see here that regular vitamin C, being water soluble, not the greatest.
Not the
Still
greatest.
wonderful. Yeah, we're going to have some. The next thing we're going to go through is something from 1978,
Wow.
before liposomal vitamin C was even available, before they
Right.
even discovered a way to do it. So even just regular vitamin C, you're going to have some amazing effects here, by the way. So regular vitamin C, still great, not the greatest. Liposomal vitamin C, if you can get it, wonderful. That's why we take it.
Right.
And then if you have a serious problem and you're in the hospital, and we're going to read a couple of situations that people have used intravenous vitamin C. Wow. If I'm ever in that situation, God forbid, I am going to be asking for some intravenous vitamin C.
Yeah.
Number one, it is super cheap. Number two, it works with your immune system. Number three, there's no side effects. And here's, speaking of side effects,
I wonder if you can just ask for that. If you're in the hospital and you're in the hospital with something that you know will respond to vitamin C,
mhm,
will you be able to ask for that and they will give it to you?
you have the right as a patient to ask for that. Whether the hospital is going to be progressive enough to do it or not is the question. And every hospital is going to be different, but it depends on where you live, that kind of thing. If you live out, in California, where there's a lot more progressive thinking, that kind of thing, or if you're at the Mayo Clinic or something like that, yeah, they might have that. They might do it. Or they might say, oh, we don't do that here. And you might have to say, okay, great. Can you please refer me to somewhere that does? Because
Right.
I want to do this.
Right.
Now, regarding the absorption and the side effects of taking too much vitamin C, you just get the runs. And that's because your body can't handle it. It's enough. It's flushing it out. And it says, okay, stop, please.
Right.
And that's if you do the oral vitamin C. And that's the drawbacks of oral vitamin C. Intravenous vitamin C bypasses the gastrointestinal tract, and so therefore you don't get the runs because it goes directly into your bloodstream.
Got
And
it.
that's why it can have 15,000 micromoles per liter versus the other measurement that was a lot less than that. So intravenous vitamin C is superior. The best one to take orally, though, is the liposomal, and that's why
Right.
we do it. That's why I did it today. Okay, so we're going to go into where are we at? Number 3?
Mhm.
So number 3, I want to bring this out. This is interesting. Okay, so this was a study that was done with the antiviral mechanisms of vitamin C in vivo and in vitro. Now, if you don't know what in vivo and vitro means, you might remember that from chemistry class. In vitro means in a test tube, and that's how I remember it. It's the one with the letter T in it. Test tube, vitro.
Got it.
Vivo is in a live, a live person.
Life.
Yeah, right. In vivo. So in vivo is a test with a person. In vitro is in a test tube. So this first example we're going to hear is about a test tube. So the antiviral mechanism of vitamin C is believed to be that vitamin C produces free radicals in the process of self-oxidation. So basically it breaks down. And get this, watch this, it inactivates viruses by degrading viral nucleic acids. What is that? I'll tell you in a second. In vivo, vitamin C is reported to stimulate immune activities in addition to direct inactivation of there's that phrase again, viral nucleic acids. What are the viral nucleic acids? Okay, remember when we first talked about, now we're not relating the two here, but remember when we were talking about the coronavirus and everybody was like, okay, what does a virus look like? Why is it structured that way? And we saw that picture of the coronavirus with the little spike proteins
spikes,
on the outside, right?
Yep.
So what zinc does, zinc breaks up. Remember how they were talking about zinc, hydrochloroquine, and the Z-Pak?
Yeah.
So the zinc was the first mode of action because it breaks down those proteins.
Right.
Well, vitamin C, that viral nucleic acid, that's the RNA or DNA, depending on which virus we're talking about, that's inside that protein shell that the zinc can break up. So vitamin C goes in there and actually breaks down it breaks down the DNA sequence.
Oh, wow.
So it basically inactivates it. It's still all there, but it's just kind of broken up. It's like smashing a glass on the floor, and it's all the glass pieces are there, but it's no longer a tumbler. It's just a bunch of glass. Wow. And so that's what it is. It goes in there and breaks the glass, essentially. Well, I'm full of metaphors tonight, aren't I?
Whatever works.
Some people might say I'm full of it, but that's, whatever. I get that on Facebook too. Okay, now number 4, in vivo. Let's go from in vitro, from a test tube to a live person. So let's check this out right here. Let me get rid of this stuff at the bottom here for you so that's a little clearer to see. Okay. So, in 2013, so relatively recently, what's really surprising to me and disappointing is that, okay, so our daughter goes to college and they tell them not to look at any studies older than 5 years. If it's older than 5 years, then it's not valid for whatever research they're doing. Wow. Which is so sad because how much good research has been done in the past and it's still valid. It has not been disproven. Now, I get why they do that because a lot of it has been disproven. But what if there's an old study out there that still holds water? Why are you discounting it? That drives me nuts. But anyway.
As an aside.
So and I bring that up because what we're going to talk about here was from 1978 in a little bit here, and that's still valid. And so it's really sad that a lot of people will just discount that and go, oh, it's 78, doesn't matter. Yeah, it still does matter. So in 2013, a meta-analysis including 29 clinical trials showed that the oral preventative doses of vitamin C did not reduce the incidence of colds in the general population. Watch this. This is how I said that this all depends on how we live our life, whether vitamin C works or not. And that's what we always thought it was. Check this out.
Okay.
However, in subgroups under intense physical exertion, such as extreme athletes and soldiers in winter training, supplementation of oral vitamin C reduced the incidence of colds by 50%.
Wow.
Suggesting oral vitamin C is beneficial in preventing colds to certain population groups. Now, I don't think you have to be an extreme athlete or a winter soldier to have this work for you. But what this does tell us is that it works better when you're active. When you are active and your blood's flowing, you're keeping everything healthy, vitamin C will help you more than if you're just sedentary. That's what that says to me. I don't know what you deduct from that research, but that seems pretty obvious to me.
Right, yeah.
So, interesting. Yeah. So let's go into point number 5 here. This is about what the body needs to fight things off. And you can, again, draw a conclusion here from things we've talked about in the past. Again, check this out right here. This is a theoretical basis of applications of high-dose intravenous infusion of vitamin C, so basically IV vitamin C, in acute and severe illnesses. Look what it says there in the first bit. Many disease states change the homeostasis of vitamin C in the human body. In other words, it sucks it up. Some examples are myocardial infarction, a heart attack,
right,
acute pancreatitis, sepsis, which is basically your body going toxic on you, and other acute and critical illnesses. Under these circumstances, the concentration of vitamin C usually decreases significantly. So what does that tell us? That your body needs vitamin C to fight off those things, because if you have those diseases and then they take your blood test and go, you've got low vitamin C all of a sudden, it's because your body has been using it. Right. So would, yes, exactly. So would reasoning deduct that you probably need vitamin C to help you with those things,
and large doses,
and perhaps even help your immune system avoid even getting the symptoms of said things.
Right. Wow.
It doesn't say that, but could you deduct that? I'm going to deduct that. That makes a lot of sense to me. You make your own decision on that. You notice I'm being very careful here with my words tonight.
We all have to be careful with our words now.
Oh gosh, with the way the world is turned upside down, everybody is going nuts about who is authorized to say what, this and that. We have medical friends who are getting slapped on the wrist for things for just basically telling the truth, but because that truth is not verified by the proper so-and-sos, that now those so-and-sos are getting mad. And I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Let's go to number 6 here. Okay, let's get rid of that at the bottom for you so it's nice and clear. Okay, so sepsis. I recently had an aunt who died of sepsis. Originally, they thought that maybe she had COVID because she died right at the outset of this whole thing.
Right.
And everybody was running around trying to figure out if she had COVID. They decided that she did not have COVID-19, but she did have sepsis. She had some problems with her colon in life. She did a lot of walking. You think she'd be a very healthy person.
Right.
But I guess her colon had some issues with its structure. And so basically her colon basically let go, and basically she had a hole in her colon, and it created sepsis. Basically it started leaking out toxins into her body.
Right.
And just took her out. So in sepsis-induced acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, which she ended up getting because of sepsis.
Oh, wow.
I wish she would have known this. Vitamin C can strengthen the lung epithelial barrier. We've talked about epithelial cells, that one cell lining that means everything.
Right.
And accelerate the clearance of lung effusion. What's lung effusion? Lung effusion is basically getting the crap out of your lungs. So how about that? Vitamin C helps your body do that too. Isn't that cool?
Wow.
Yeah. So that was, there's still more on this one study. I found, this was a lot. This was a really good one that I grabbed. Now this next bit here.
Do you enjoy looking at these studies?
I do, because, and we talked about that before, because I see how I've learned from Dr. Michael Greger, again, another plug from him. He puts things together and reasonably deducts things, and that's what I'm doing, and lo and behold, usually there's a study that comes on later on that connects the dots officially, and like I said, lo and behold, he was right.
Right.
Because you see all these things and they lead to some obvious conclusion, and that's why I like the word biologic, and I break that word biologic. How the body operates, biology, life just makes sense to me. It's the way God makes things. God is a God of order. He's not a God of confusion.
Correct.
And that means the obvious conclusions to me. If you see, 1 + 1 = 2, well, yeah.
Right.
And that's what I see in these studies. So yeah, I do get excited about them, because I think that when people study these things, they just prove the Bible and prove that God was right all along, and that, if we're given ideas by God about health and it works for us, that's why, because he's given us that logic. So,
right.
Little preaching session there.
Okay.
Okay, so this is interesting. This is about COVID-19 and vitamin C, and what not just China is doing. Again, some of these are a little short, so I have to take off our logo off the bottom there. Okay, there we go. Based on treatment experience gained in Shanghai, China was the first to use vitamin C. Hospitals in New York City, USA caught on. And they have also utilized intravenous vitamin C, IVC, in patients with severe COVID-19 with specific doses determined by the attending physician. So basically, everybody's kind of making up their own rules right now. Still kind of a wild west with this. In February 2020, a long time ago, I guess by now, Wuhan University Zhongnang Hospital took the lead in officially launching phase 2 prospective randomized control clinical trial So they're actually officially testing this using intravenous vitamin C in severe cases of COVID-19. The study uses 12 grams of vitamin C. Again, 12,000.
12,000 IU, right?
Yep, 12,000 milligrams.
Milligrams.
Yeah, IU is when we're talking about things like vitamin D3.
Ah.
With continuous IV pump for 7 days in the intervention group, and the control group is infused with sterile water in parallel. So they've got a control there just to make sure that a placebo is not happening. People think they're getting well and they're not. That's
correct.
Yeah. So the primary endpoint is a 28-day ventilator-free survival time. Okay, so we're not using the ventilators. The study is expected to recruit 140 patients, so this is still going on, and is expected to be concluded in September 2020. That is exciting to me because what is everybody all hot on right now is that vaccine. Well, this is going to come out right about the time that vaccine's going to be ready, I think. I mean, they're talking about, some people are pretty close. There was news this week that Russia may have beat the U.S. In finding a vaccine. So now it's going to be who's first, who's second, who's coming out with this thing. So we'll see. Anyway, so it's very interesting that there's a vitamin C study, vitamin C of all things, lowly vitamin C,
Wow.
that is going possibly head-to-head with
We'll have to
a
keep
vaccine.
our eye out for it
That's pretty cool.
when it concludes.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to get into the next study here. Vitamin C pioneer Frederick L. Klenner. Now this is an excerpt from, we have several excerpts, from an interview that was done with him in 1978. This is old information, and you're just going to listen to this, and like I said, the body makes sense. It never stops making sense, and it's God's logic. You're going to listen to this and go, huh, that's God's logic. That just makes sense. And that's what I like about it, and that's why I wanted to bring this out for you tonight. This is really neat. Check this out. This is the first excerpt. This is Dr. Frederick Klenner. Again, we're going to put this up for you so you can look it up yourself. And this is what he said. We're going to start with I want to read the first line, and then I'll get to the blue stuff there. We always observed the vitamin C to be a helping factor. Very helpful, he says. He's talking here about pregnancy. Pregnancy, women, and babies that we're going to talk about here for a minute. And that is exciting too regarding these dietary guidelines because they are specifically talking about supplementation for maternity.
Okay.
So cool. So if you're watching tonight, and usually the folks that watch tonight are done having kids, but if you have kids having kids, or you have friends that are having kids, you may want to pass some of this on to them because this is kind of cool stuff. So he says that we found that vitamin C given over the course of the pregnancy generally makes labor shorter and less painful.
Wow.
Huh. Every woman likes that.
Right.
And that's where the elasticity of the perineum comes in. You're also going to like this. Perineum. Pardon me. Perineum.
Right.
See, that's why I need you here. I don't know that word. You know that word.
Yes.
Okay, so though ordinarily we saw labor take 24 hours, that's what you had with Sydney, I think, our daughter, right?
Pretty much.
And with Van, too, really.
Not totally intense for the whole 24 hours.
But you were in labor for about 24 hours,
yeah,
right?
Oh.
Labor with vitamin C was reduced down to not more than 6 hours.
Wow.
And most of the time, they were in labor only 3 to 4 hours. When you reduce the time, you reduce the pain. Yeah, obviously. Delivery, now that matters for a minute. Keep that in mind. If you reduce the time, you reduce the pain, okay? Delivery was easy because the perineum would stretch so much more easily than in women who didn't receive the vitamin C. And we see that in people whose skin looks great because they take a lot of vitamin C. And so that would make sense that their skin would stretch along with it. And skin stretch, yeah, I'm heading there. Guess what this next one's going to be
I
about?
want to know how much vitamin C, not that I'm going to have any more babies, but I want to know how much vitamin C they were taking.
Okay, well, check this out because you've got good timing. Look at this. Vitamin C in the program of 4 to 10 grams daily. So that's 4,000 to 10,000 milligrams.
Okay.
That's doable.
Yeah.
I probably did about 6 myself today.
Okay.
Improve the elasticity of not only the perineum, but also the blood vessels themselves. And I got the next part there for you underneath because I know the women in the audience would be interested in this. We've never had a single stretch mark after we started on this regime of high-dose vitamin C. Wow. I mean, that's cool.
Skin elasticity. I need to be taking more vitamin C.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to do that.
Very interesting, yeah. And you know why? Is because you think of, okay, who had very very low vitamin C in the pirate days? It was the pirates, and they got scurvy because they went on the sea and they didn't have access to oranges or anything for
Right.
long length of time, and then they would get in trouble. And one of the first signs of scurvy is bleeding eyes.
Oh.
Because you think of it, where are the small blood vessels? They're in your eyes, right? So they're going to start warning you first that there's something wrong, that there's bleeding in the eyes. And that's what we're learning here about vitamin C. You said that it helps the skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it helps the elasticity of the skin, it helps the elasticity of every part of the body, right? Because what happens on your skin is sort of a representation of what's happening on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so, lo and behold, we're going to find out here in a minute that vitamin C actually helps with the elasticity of blood vessels. So they didn't have vitamin C, so the pirates, or whoever, didn't have to be pirates, but whatever. I'm just, stuck on Pirates of the Caribbean. This is what I'm envisioning in my mind. Anybody who was on the ocean in the 1700s for an extended period of time with not the proper kind of food would get scurvy. And the first thing to go would be the elasticity of the blood vessels in their eyes, and that's where they would start bleeding. And you can imagine, well, if everything else starts bleeding and your blood vessels start popping open everywhere, ooh, you're in trouble. And of course, it's going to affect your heart. So this is where we want to go here, is that anything that happens in the small blood vessels is eventually going to affect the large blood vessels. Correct. And your heart.
Yeah.
So vitamin C is good for the heart. We just know that. Now, let's go to point number 9 here. They've got a lot of points, and these are all really neat. I enjoyed doing this one tonight. So, oh, wait a minute. We've already covered that one, haven't we?
Yeah.
That's the one about the stretch marks. So we're on number 10. We already did number 9. Let's look at number 10. The key to the quicker childbirth that we just read about with vitamin C is that it makes the perineum more elastic. Although no formal studies have yet documented that, we do know that the perineum, thank you, does flex more easily and more safely if the patient has been on high doses of vitamin C, and that is the key. Now, women, if you've given birth and a big baby, you know that part of the danger there is ripping. That can happen.
Correct.
Very uncomfortable.
Very.
So I imagine that this would help that as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to make every other part of your body elastic, stretchy. That's going to be great. So yeah, interesting stuff.
That is.
Yeah. So now
I wish I would have known that.
I know.
17 and 20 years ago.
I know. This is crazy, right? Oh, and here's something else I wanted to bring out too that we didn't talk about yet. In this same conversation with Dr. Klenner, he said, did we have any miscarriages among those who took vitamin C? Not one, he said. And in fact, when they were born, now we're going to get into what they do with the kids. He says the kids that they put on vitamin C, yes, you can put kids on vitamin C according to this doctor. Again, I am not going to diagnose nor prescribe. You make your own decision.
That's usually the first vitamin, though. I mean, back in the 70s when I was a kid, that's pretty much the only vitamin I took. And it was the ones that were big and orange and really tasty.
Yeah.
I don't really remember taking any other vitamin.
No, for a short time we had Flintstone vitamins, and those are probably more sugar than anything else.
I'm pretty sure the doctors in that day told parents to just take vitamin C because that's really all I took.
Yeah, vitamin C you knew kept you from getting a cold, right? That was the common.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need a study to tell us that? Or, I mean, at a certain point, does anecdotal evidence, basically the experience of others, I mean, it has to mean something. It may not be enough for people to change their minds. It's enough for me. If I see this many people, even if it's not a formal study group, going a certain direction and a placebo group going another direction, and again, not an official study, but group A is doing better than group B, I'm going to draw some conclusions. I mean, the father of medicine, Hippocrates, did not need a double-blind, placebo-controlled test to prove anything, to prove everything.
Yeah, with a certain amount of published papers.
Well, and exactly. And the thing is that gets very expensive. No wonder the supplement companies don't do that. Is because they don't have money to do that. We've created a protocol and a bureaucracy that costs a lot of money if you want to prove something. And so this is how good things like vitamin C are maligned, because people say, oh, there wasn't a study done about it. Well, it costs a lot of money, guys. Sometimes there's just not enough money to do that. And you have to think for yourself. You have to think with biologic. You've got to look at what makes sense. And this makes sense.
Okay.
So check this out. The key to the quicker childbirth in vitamin C is, oh, no, duh, we read that already, did we not?
We did.
We did. Oh, yeah, that's the key. All right, well, I guess we're on to number 11 then. Let's, gosh, I'm going through these faster than I thought. We have determined that you should give a child, now this is Dr. Klenner speaking, 1,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C per year of life, up to 10 years. So basically, if they're 2 years old, give them 2,000. 3 years old, give them 3,000.
Oh,
that's
wow.
what Klenner was doing.
Crazy.
A day, per day. Now, that is with the regular vitamin C. Right now that we have liposomal in the world, probably don't need quite that much because liposomal is absorbed about twice as much, if not more, than regular vitamin C. The Dr. Klenner says we always recommended this, and we get a tremendous feedback. The babies who take it are much healthier than those who don't. They eat better. They sleep better. No problems. Wow. Who would like a baby with no problems? That sounds wonderful. And remember, this was 1978. This was a long time ago. So, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is good information. So now there's some more stuff we don't have any more slides for, but I do want to bring it out for your attention here. So yeah, that was the last one here. Oh, okay, here's another thing that we wanted to bring out that we didn't have a slide for. It said vitamin C is the best thing for pregnancy, quote unquote, from Dr. Irwin Stone, who is basically commenting on Dr. Klenner. And he says it also reduces the risk of hemorrhaging and miscarriages. Makes sense because what does it do? It strengthens the blood vessels. The whole scurvy, eye bleeding thing strengthens the blood vessels. If it strengthens the blood vessels, that's also going to happen where you're not. If you have a miscarriage, you're not going to hemorrhage.
Right.
Because the blood vessels are going to be strong and elastic. So that's great. So it's great for everything. Wonderful. I love it when something lowly like vitamin C gets vindicated like that. Just an under the radar kind of hero like that. I love that.
Right. Something that we see all the time and hear about all the time, and yet we're not talking about it as much as we should be.
Right.
I mean, it's just vitamin C, but it does super important things.
And it's just vitamin C. It's not the wonder drug. Well, maybe it is. No one's because you can't patent vitamin C. No one's ever going to make money on it.
No.
And follow the money with all this what's going to cure you and what's not. I mean, we see that even in we're going to bring that up later in one of our Laird Wellness Lives, that the reason why one drug is being pushed over the other for COVID-19 is it's a money game. Somebody can make more money off the other one. So that's why even the one that works is being, no, that one doesn't work. See all these studies that, see, it doesn't work? Yeah. So we're going to push that aside. We're going to push this one. Well, guess what? The one they're pushing is not new. It's been around since 2000.
Well, they've both been around.
Yeah, now we're not talking about the official vaccine that Russia has made. This is something else that's being pushed as an answer. But that answer has been around since 2009. It's proven itself, sure, and it makes more money than the other one. So guess which one they're going to pick. So now here's the third one we want to bring out. This is from, and I like getting this email. This is from Nutra, from Ingredients Asia is what it's called, because we got a lot of news in this one that we don't normally get in the U.S.
Okay.
They tell you a lot about what's going on in Australasia, the Asian countries around Australia, from Australia, India, China. All these, what they're doing, and not some news, just not some propaganda thrown out there. It's like, well, what's actually happening behind the scenes, because there's doctors in these countries. They want to do good. They're doing research just like everybody else, and so we see the good news from other countries in this paper. And this one especially is about the U.S. Again, something that's not going to come out in even our news. It took these guys to tell us about it, ironically. Says the USDA report that will underpin the development of the next set of dietary guidelines for Americans, the whole food pyramid thing,
Right.
Reflects a growing and welcome appreciation for the role of dietary supplements. That's pretty cool. Now, this is kind of an aside from our vitamin C talk, but this is just in vitamins in general. It includes for the first time dietary recommendations for infants from birth through 24 months.
Okay.
So as we were seeing from Dr. Klenner, he was talking about vitamin C and a lot of people go, gee, can I feed my baby
Right.
any vitamins like we were just talking about, right? And yeah, he says, yeah, go ahead. And apparently the USDA is about to agree. Now, this was the first time in a report like this that you saw, this is a quote from Daniel Fabricant, who is a PhD, president of this and CEO of the Natural Products Association. Of course, he was very happy about this. He says, this is the first time in a report like this that you saw a real discussion of the value of supplementation in the executive summary. So not just somewhere buried deep in this thing, they're coming out and putting it as part of the executive summary for this.
I think that needs to be done.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Everybody's so confused.
I know,
about
right? So
what should they take and what should they give their kids? It needs to be written down
yep.
so that we know, and then probably take more. Just saying.
Well, yeah, that's a loaded
Yeah.
quote, but yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're saying is that the recommended daily allowance or the nutrition facts or the
RDA.
supplement facts or recommended, you can't say dosage when you're talking about a supplement. It's a recommended serving. We're talking about a recommended serving. It's usually, the 100% daily recommended value or whatever it's called now
Yep.
is enough to keep you alive. So if you get that, congratulations. Yes, you'll live another day.
Right.
So you could probably do a heck of a lot more than that. As we're seeing, like for vitamin C, for example, you said 400
Is usually the recommended daily.
yeah, 400 milligrams will keep you alive, but 4,000 will keep you really alive.
So yeah, that's
so-
what I want to know. I want to know what the optimum dose is, not just what can get me by.
Right, and maybe we'll get into that next time because it's different for every supplement. Some supplements you can actually take more of, especially when we're talking about herbs, medicinal herbs and that kind of thing. Usually the old American thinking is more is more, right? More is better.
More is better.
More is
Yep.
better. Bigger is better. Bigger is always better. More is better. So, but that's not the case. You take too much of some of these things, it can actually make you sick, and it actually works better in smaller doses.
Correct.
And the greatest example of that is homeopathy. If you ever have a homeopathy case at home, we have one here, and it's basically microscopic.
Micro dosage.
Microscopic amounts of the thing that is making you ill. For example, a bee sting, the homeopathic recommendation for a bee sting is a microscopic dose of bee venom. It's a
Right.
concept called like cures like. It's almost like you've heard of the hair of the dog. So after you have a night of binge drinking, that what will make you feel better is another beer.
Eh,
Like cures like. Unfortunately, yeah. Well, that's just anyway. That's a really
That's
rough
way off
example.
topic.
Yeah, really rough example. But that whatever. But that's the concept. Is
Right.
that like cures like, and we'll get into that another time. And we will not be here next week. We will be back here in 2 weeks. So thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please always put it in the chat. I am going to put these 3 links into the comments section on Facebook.
Yep.
And we'll put this back up on YouTube in a little bit at lairdwellness.com/YouTube. Thanks. See ya.
Good night.